Maybe before opening up the questions, go back. Obviously, it's from what Neil said, the construction of the Portland-Milwaukie Light Rail forces some of these issues. But go through the financing element from the full funding grant agreement, because it's not as if FTA says, well, we don't care much about that issue. Explain that part, because this is isn't all of a sudden a cost that's getting shifted to our general fund.
Exactly. I mean, one of the reasons, as many of you know, we have some ongoing liabilities in this room, like the orange carpet that's been here for 40 years.
Quality carpet.
It's
echo-wise. It might even be more scary. So one of the opportunities this provides us is the ability to provide the federal match that comes with the Portland-Milwaukie project and use that to accommodate these needs that we've had, if you will, for a while related to the TriMet facilities. So I think it's an opportunity both in terms of the efficiencies and coordination that can be improved with the replan of TriMet facilities overall, but then also allow the participation of the project at 60% into the funding of those shuttles, if you will.
Essentially what the FTA says is, if you need additional trackway, for example, or maintenance facilities to be able to handle the extra, that's a part of the project. And in this case, it's more around some of the command center issues. Likewise, it's a part of the project. So just keep in the back of your mind, it's not, I mean, actually FTA is quite good in this regard, and that is they really kind of say, you got to look at the whole of what it takes you to be able to operate this new line. It's not just how do you put down the track kind of part of it.
Right. And obviously, the pace, the schedule that is paced and scheduled to be very parallel with the Portland-Milwaukie financing and approval steps. So we're trying to sort of make sure our steps are very measured so that we're not putting the general fund at any risk associated with this, but we only move this forward as the FTA process moves the overall project forward.
So Gerald, all right. Go Bob.
Oh, okay. I was listening to something you said regarding overtime. And my question would be, isn't this an opportunity, would this be a good opportunity to expand this building, i.e. not tear it down, but add on, taking the parking spaces out here, maybe even building a parking garage, taking part of the bus spaces out there, something of this nature, building something over it or something of this nature. Which will sustain us over a 20, 30, 40 number of years versus going out and leasing over that period of time and not having anything to show for it.
We have looked at that, and we've looked at that pretty hard. Actually, there was a master plan that we did for the campus, if you will, that showed an expansion of the building out into the front parking lot where the visitor spots are right now. The requirement, though, for it is not only the new building space, but it's also, as you noted, a parking garage.
Right.
And that's a very costly chunk of work. So when we started to compare the economics of that, it's not a very favorable decision for us at this point in time. And there are, while FTA will, if you will, help us out on some of these expenses, there's a limit to what they can provide related to this project. So there's another little factor here, which is that if you build new space, you're essentially leasing it at a much higher, because the cost of construction is much higher, if you will, than what we can lease space for on the market right now. So just a rule of thumb, new space would come on the market about $30 to $35 a square foot. We can lease it probably for 20 in a fairly good building downtown. So there's a big economic difference between building the new building here and potentially leasing for the next few years. We still have that. The other, I think, thing that's affecting us is that until we have light rail here in this neighborhood, it's really hard to get the kind of transit mode share we'd like to see for all of our all of our employees, and we're going to be continually pushing in that direction and get more and more TriMet employees to take transit. Actually, a pretty good record right now, but it needs to be, should be 100%, frankly. And if we have some of our administrative offices in places that are more transit accessible, we'll be more successful in doing that.
Do talk a little bit about, because one of the issues that Bob raised is one of the ones we've actually explored, that is, can you put out here a structure that allows us to be able to both have parking, not just for vehicles, although that would, private vehicles, but can we do double-decking bus parking as well? And then also talk a moment about PGE.
Yeah. So, and again, as we did look at that. It's a very, in order to do that, it's like building a freeway overpass, because it has to support moving buses, right? So it's a very stout and expensive structure. It may be a very desirable thing long-term for TriMet to do, but right now we don't have the demand for additional buses to be parked here. And I think, the other part of it is that we're a transit agency. We don't really build parking for our employees, right? And so it does put us in a little bit of a rock and a hard spot, because if you went to the city for a permit, they'd be looking for a number of parking spaces, yet we know we don't really want long-term to encourage that number of parking spaces. There is another option that we have looked at occasionally and on a regular basis, and we'll continue to look at, which is the PGE campus to the north of us. And they do a lot of their line service work out of this area. And they have periodically looked at relocating, whether or not there's a better location for them more central to their service area. And they've, not to be, I think it's fair to say they've been on one foot and then the other. It's been a close call to them. But there are other issues associated with expanding to the north. When PG wants that space right now, it hasn't told us that it would be available for any other use. But second is we're worried about its contamination, potential contamination, as PCBs and other things on the site. It may not be a great long-term investment, so we just need to sort of continue to talk to them about that and see if there are opportunities that open up along the